Good morning, Jayant.
Just give me a minute. All right. So in last class we discussed about a bit on robotics life cycle. We covered two of the phases. One is the technical feasibility phase. The other one is the solution design phase, if you remember. So in technical feasibility, as I said, there will be two questions that you need to answer. The first question is it worth automating the process? The second question is whether the process can be automated or not. So can someone tell me what are the factors that are dependent on these two questions? What are the factors dependent on checking whether the process is automated or not?
Whether it is stable function or not. Stability.
Okay, the stability is one factor. What else?
FTE. We need to calculate FTE.
So FTE says that is manual effort and frequency of the process.
Frequency.
Okay. Next. Criticality of the process.
Yeah, critical.
And stability of the process.
Can the process be automated? What do you check? The accesses required. Application compatibility. decisions we are checking on the data handover. Okay. So this is a question that's been frequently asked in the interviews. That's the reason why there is no point or else discussing this over and over. Anyways, moving on. So we covered the technical feasibility or the plan phase. We covered the design phase where we create the solution design document and process definition document. So in process definition document, we have as is process. That is a manual process. In solution design document, we have to be process. That is a process that the bot is planning to do, or the Blue Prism UiPath is planning to do. In here we have current state process flow. Target systems, process SLA, the escalation matrix, process owner, AD team information, etc. will be present in here. In solution design, we have how the exceptional handling is done. How the bot is scheduled. The access that has been provided to the bot. All that information is present in your solution design document. Alright. So these are the components that are present. So I'll be sharing you the documents today. A template on solution design document, a template on process definition document as well. So once you move on away from this phase, then comes the development phase. Development phase is where you access the UiPath Studio. You start building your code. Okay, you create a new process and you start building your code, right? So any company if you take, right, the way the architecture is set up is they will have 3 database instances or 3 different environments. So they have the dev environment, they have the test environment, they have the prod environment. Okay, so they'll have some set. I already explained this, I guess, one of the starting classes, but I said I'll take a deeper look and I'll show you a deeper look at this. They'll have certain systems present in the dev environment. They have certain systems present in the test environment, certain present in the prod environment as well. Right. So dev environment is where you will have access to, where you start creating the code, where you start writing the code. Right. Once your development is over, you will publish to something called as an orchestrator. So orchestrator is some sort of a communicator between these 3 areas. So orchestrator is a kind of communicator between these three areas. So let us say that you have built a code in one of the development applications. Right. The moment you have finished your development, the second step that comes is a testing phase. Right, there is integration testing or SAT, then there is UAT. Most of the companies does not follow SAT, they directly go to end user testing. So what happens is whatever code that you have written that in your development environment gets pushed to the orchestrator by publishing it. Okay, so you have an instance of this code pushed to the orchestrator. Now what in orchestrator, what do is you say that okay, this is going to the testing phase, so I want to run this particular code that I have created in the development environment in one of the testing environments. So the code you have developed in the dev environment is now can be run in the test environment with the help of the communicator, right? So any issues either the end user or the testing team have identified any defects, what you do is they'll send you a document called as UAT tracker or the SID tracker. The SID tracker has the information which contains the test scenarios and also defects. The test scenarios will be something like, if I pass wrong credentials, how is my code behaving? If I pass correct credentials, how is my code behaving? How it is supposed to behave? Something like test script, actual result, expected result. Test script will be something like, passed the correct credentials. Actual result, the bot has logged in successfully. Expected result, the bot is supposed to log in successfully. Next, test script, passed the wrong credentials. Actual result, bot failed. Expected result, the bot should stop by sending an email notification to the password or admin team. But that did not happen, right? So that's not a match. So that will be a failure. So it will be raised as a defect, saying the test script for TS02. So they'll have each test script or each test scenario will have a code. TS02 did not work as expected. Another test script will be the output file will have a sheet name data with these columns present. Expected result, the columns should be present. Actual result, the columns are not present. Clear, right? So there will be test scenarios for both positive cases and the negative cases, and how the bot is behaving or how your code is behaving against these two scenarios will be tested out by running against each case. Intentionally they'll fill wrong data, intentionally they'll fill the wrong files, and see how the code is expected. If all the test scenarios are finished, then so this is how UAT tracker file will be present. This is one of the one. So result is a match or not. So this is sort of different, but it's pretty much the same. So who is testing it? The description. This is not one of the old ones. Preliminary center. Yeah. So here the test script ID is the script ID. The script description. Check whether FBL3 and transaction is saved on the current location or not. Expected result. The saved in this particular path. The actual result. Whether it's saved or not, and the result is a match or not. So if everything is a match, then that your code is behaving correctly. If something is not matching, that means you need to fix that. So that gets raised as a defect and you need to fix that particular one. So these are all the steps. Verify whether the correct layout is correct or not. Verify whether it's a successful login, whether it's navigating to the correct machine, verify whether the created layout is correct, verify whether these particular files are getting saved into the correct location. So each test case will have a match or not matched. What is the expected result? So this is how the UIT tracker or asset tracker is presented. So any questions on this document? I'll send this document, not a problem. This is one of the oldest ones. So
Jayant, generally, who will prepare this document? Just a developer or no tester or
see, this
like
is the
BA?
template that usually developer shares to the business, where the business will fill in the test scripts. Business or the end user, because the end user is the one who is doing it manually, so he'll have an idea of what are the things that could go wrong, and he will add them as part of the test scripts. So things that are going wrong, how is the code behaving against these wrong situations?
Okay.
Okay. If you take here an example, there is a scenario is happy flow, that means it should work as expected, and scenario is exception, that is, see, unable to launch SAP in this particular scenario. So what happens when unable to launch SAP? How the code should behave? Move SAP to another drive and run the process. Okay. Attempt 5. What bot should do? Expected result. After 5 attempts of rerun, the robot will send an email to the user describing the error and attaching the audit log. Whether it's actually doing or not. If it's actually doing, so it's a match. So another exception. Unable to authenticate user. Intentionally you fed the wrong. How are you replicating the scenario? By removing the password from the code. That way the bot intentionally will feed in the wrong password and try to log in. So after 2 attempts, not more than 2 attempts, the bot will again send an email describing the error and attach the audit log. Now, what if the input file is not present? How do you ensure that the input file is not present? You remove one of the templates from the input folder. And how the expected result should be after running it, the robot will send an email to the user describing the error. So pretty much exception scenarios and success scenarios should be specified like this. So how the code is expecting and what's happening in actual result. Clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Jay, one question here.
Yeah.
So here you'll be having like where one local machine will be developing all your code. So where is this two machines, like test and prod? So you'll be having only one orchestrator, right?
We will be having only one orchestrator, but this orchestrator is mapped to all the machines of this all environments. See, when I say machines, they are not physical machines, they are virtual machines, VSINs. So even though in development environment, I'm saying that you're doing it in a laptop, it's not literally in your local computer you're doing, you'll be assigned a virtual server to you. So in that virtual server, you would log in with your developer credentials and then you start writing the code. In that virtual server will be the UiPath installed. Clear?
I mean that these test and prod are like virtual machines, is it?
Exactly, even dev as well.
Okay. So I mean dev instance, like we are accessing dev instance where we are doing the development, right? That is dev.
Exactly. So let us say that I have ordered 50 virtual machines today. Out of this, I'm starting a new RPA project. What I do is I have 5 developers under me. So I take 3 virtual machines and assign it to 5 developers. The reason why is because each virtual machine at a time 2 people can log into with 2 different accounts. Clear?
Okay.
So what I do is so there are 5 people, so they need even if all 5 people are working together at a maximum of, I need only 3 virtual machines. The reason why I don't have to spend more is because each virtual machine license cost. There is a development license, there is a runtime license. We'll talk about of licensing one day. So any RPA tool you take, right? There is a development license and there is a runtime license. So development license is required for the purpose of doing the development. Development license is a lifetime license. That means once you purchase the development license from for a server from a UiPath company, they will give you for lifetime. You can use it for lifetime. Each license costs some X amount of dollars. Same way, there are runtime licenses, but they are not lifetime. They are subscription based. They have to pay them annually. So the more they keep using it, the more they need to keep paying because it's a subscription based. The moment you stop paying, the moment they will remove the access for the runtime licenses. Runtime license is where the actual run is happening. That is in the test and the prod. Development licenses are installed in the dev environment. Runtime licenses are installed in the prod and test environment. So these are called as runtime resources. These are called as development resources. Clear? So ideally, what we do is each virtual machine gets a license installed where 2 accounts can automatically log in. Clear? So if there are 5 developers in my team, what I do is I assign 3 developer machines to them. I'll give access to those 3 developer machines with their IDs and they can log into any of those servers. Probably for each 2 people, I'm assigning a virtual machine. Those are development machines. There are also testing machines and production machines sitting somewhere waiting for the commands from the orchestrator to start running. They'll be sitting idle somewhere. The orchestrator stress, so let us say T1, T2. So these are called D1, D2, so on, and these are called T1, T2, so on. Okay, and each developer logs in with their developer account, right? So account 1, account 2, account 3, each developer will have their own account. In testing, we create or maintain only 2 generic accounts, okay? Because at any given point of time, virtual machine can log into 2 accounts only, maximum. That's the limit of virtual machines. Clear? So I'll have test account 1 with credentials. I'll have test account 2. So only these 2 accounts will be given access to log into test environments. Similarly, I'll have production 1 account, production 2 account. Here, depending upon the developers, they'll have each developer will have access to all the accounts. Developer 1, developer 2, etc. Number of developers, each account will have access to developer account. So what happens is, if you remember in the orchestrator, when we are adding the account, we are also giving the Windows credentials. You remember I gave my password. So when you are adding the development service, you will add the whoever server you are adding, that server's developer's password and username will be added to the orchestrator. But you don't have to add for the developer because see, you only log into the machine from the orchestrator when you want to push the code and run it in that particular server. All right. In development server, you are not expected to run from the orchestrator because in development server, the developer himself will run from that execution stage. He will click on debug or he will click on start. So the test environment, the production environment will be added as environments in the orchestrator. These servers will be added there with test1 account credentials and then test2 account credentials. These servers P1, P2, P3 will be added with production 1 credentials and production 2 credentials into the orchestrator. Now when the developer pushes this code to the orchestrator will pick one of the servers randomly or one of the servers that the tester wants to run in with the test credentials. So this orchestrator will log into these servers with one of test1 or test2 credentials and then deploy the code and then execute it. Similarly, once the testing is over, the orchestrator will run the same code and deploys the same code into production P1 or P2 servers with the credentials prod1 or 2, prod1 or prod2 and then execute it. Clear?
Okay. So if I
Yeah.
deploy my code in
Okay.
prod one in the sense it's a bot, right?
It's not deploying, it's creating an instance of it temporarily and then execute it. So when you schedule, so let us say that today you will schedule in prod P1, tomorrow you can schedule in P2. It's not like your code is going there permanently. Your code is still rests in the orchestrator itself. The moment you will tell that today, hey, run in P1, it takes the instance of the code there, executes it, finishes it, and cleans up and comes back.
Okay. So my copy of code will be always available in orchestrator, and we are assigning that particular code to specific prod one or prod two, is it?
Exactly. The moment
Okay.
you publish that in the dev one, the a copy of that code or the clone of that code will go into the orchestrator with the version number. It will always be present in the orchestrator. Whenever you want to run something there, the code goes there, executes, gets executed, and comes back.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah. Thank you.
However, again, see, that's the reason why whatever code you're writing should be as generic as possible. Clear? So let us, what do you mean that is, now, if you remember, in the code that I have written, in the project 0612, I'm opening the report.xls file. I'm also opening the Anyteller application. Now, why did I give the path here report.xls desktop? So this code only can run successfully in my machine because this report file is present only in my desktop. When I track this code and then I run in someone's execution, for the code to be run successfully there, this file has to be placed in the desktop as well. That's so the code can be able to pick up. Provided their username is also HP, because see username is HP per me. So ideally what we do is we place these files in a shared drive where the code connects to the shared drive and retrieves them. So no matter which server you are, it always connects to the shared drive and then retrieves it. Clear? So the any files that you're accessing, any templates you're accessing should be placed at a centralized location. So no matter which server you're running from, the files get picked up. You're not limiting it to the server only. Clear? So only exceptions comes when you're working with Windows-based application. Let us say this in this particular scenario, I'm running against Anyteller. So Anyteller is an application which is standalone. You don't have to install it. But there are applications like SAP, there are applications like Salesforce and all where there is a Windows application involved. The application has to be installed in the server. So in these scenarios, what we do is we give dedicated production servers, dedicated test servers. So we list down, okay, this particular process has Windows application installed. So in production server, we'll install that application in 2 different machines. And whenever this particular process has to be run, it only will run in that only. So it's like dedicatedly, we are assigning the production servers to that particular process. The ones which have web application, Excel, PDF, the common files involved, common things involved, that you can run in any bot in any server. Wherever it's free, it will go and just run there. Clear? Anything you want me to repeat? Everyone?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So let us say in test environment they found an issue or they raise a defect. Now what happens exactly in this scenario is the developer will try to fix those defects in the code and then he'll publish it again. So when the moment he publishes it again, a different copy of the code will go to the orchestrator with a different version number. This is what we have seen that day as well. When I publish it second time, a different build has been got generated. Now the tester will have access to both the versions of the code, the previous version of the code, the current version of the code. So he can run either of the code. Now this time what he'll do is he'll take the latest build from the source and then he starts running it the test environment. So again he'll check against all the test cases, checks if the defects got fixed. So this to and fro bounce happens until all the test scenarios are done, and then it goes to the UAT. In UAT they check the functional requirements, functional scripts. Even those are also done. Finally, the code will be pushed to production. So this is how typically happens in any company. This is pretty much, so what I said is not just limited to UiPath, it is kind of present in every RPA tool, even in Blue Prism automation, where this is how, so the words are different. Instead of orchestrator, it's actually control room in automation anywhere in Blue Prism. The same way you publish that to the control room, you run in one of the testing servers, there the testing team will check, accept it, and then you run that in the production servers, you deploy that. So pretty much it's the same everywhere. This is one of the ways they do it.
Okay.
Some of the companies, however, maintain different orchestrators and different instances intentionally. So I have seen companies where it's not like this. Rather, the architecture is sort of different. It is something like this. Orchestrator 1. They will maintain a different orchestrators both in production and test. Orchestrator 2. Now in this, so I have seen a couple of companies started using this to segregate the accesses correctly, so that the testing team will not have access to the production servers, production team will not have access to the testing servers, and so forth, and even the orchestrator will not have access to both environments. So in this scenario, what they do is, whatever code the developer has done, they will physically export the file. They will physically export the file. And they will import to one of the servers and then publish it from the test server only. Now, how do you physically export and import this? If you go to UiPath Studio, if you take this for example, now how can I export this is, if I click on go, save as, in desktop, I can give one of the folders I can create. Let us say this is project 0612, so I will create that. So if I save it here, my code will be saved as a physical file in that particular folder. The format of the file is XAML, and the extension is XAML, but inside it's written in XML. When you open this with Notepad, you can actually see the XML written here. So this is a physical representation of my code. Now I can take this file anywhere and I can re-import it and open the code there. So physically, if you want to transfer the code from one machine to another machine, so now that you have imported this, now how do I? Yes, I click on open, and then I choose that file and then click on open. In the different machine, it chooses the XAML files. All I have to do is go to different machine, click on open. That's how I'll be able to share the code with you guys as well. So they physically transport the file to the test environment, and from the test environment they publish to the orchestrator and run in any of the servers. Once it is done, again they physically transport the file to the production environment. The reason why they do this is because they'll have a different code repository like SVN or GitHub, so that they can store the code in that coding repository, so that they don't have to rely on the orchestrator for storing the source code. Let us say at one point of time the orchestrator got crashed and you lost all the data. Now all your code, everything is gone. You don't have a backup of that code. In that particular scenario, why not maintain two different orchestrators, two different nodes? So this way it will be more useful. They can create multiple orchestrator instances. Even when one is down, they'll have another 2 or 3 running. They can create some 2 to 3 sets of orchestrator in this particular scenario, orchestrator P1, P2, orchestrator T1, T2. Your code is actually moved around physically between each orchestrator and the other orchestrator. You can create multiple versions or multiple copies of that code. I have seen some of the companies started doing this when they have many bots, when they have 300 or 400 bots, when the company is been there in that particular scenario for last 1 or 2 years, the number of bots keep increasing and it's hard to maintain just in one orchestrator. So they start splitting the orchestrator and they start maintaining this code offline as well. They'll start using that SVN or GitHub or Bitbucket, and they start using the version repository of SVN rather than using orchestrator version repository. Clear?
Yeah.
So this is another approach I have seen a lot of people using. So what is the architecture of UiPath is a question that I have not seen in an interview where the question was not asked. So when someone asks, this is the answer you have to give. Like how the actual transformation happens, how the architecture is built. So this is how pretty typical any RPA tool is present almost. There is a slight changes between ones. So Blue Prism has control room directly in the Windows itself, application itself, not in the browser based. Automation Anywhere, again, it's a browser based. But for Automation Anywhere, you have to install the application to open the control room. There is a control room application that you need to install typically. So for UiPath, you don't even have to do that. You can literally access it from anywhere, from the mobile, from anywhere. Clear?
So how do you create flowcharts in real time?
Can you repeat?
Current state flowchart, future state
Okay, so
flowchart.
we have a tool called Visio Standard. So I'm not sure if I have that installed. So I have to download that probably. So Visio Standard is a tool. Let me open and show you how it looks like. Visio Standard is a tool given by the Microsoft that is used in pretty much all the development projects. MS Visio Standard, you need to download. It's a free one. There is Visio Professional and there is a Visio Standard. So the flowchart will actually look like this. So you create flowcharts. They are not executable. It's just that you can drag and drop the boxes and you create flowchart. Like how in Blue Prism you drag and drop, right? But in Blue Prism they're executable. Here, looking at this, you will be able to understand what is exactly the process is. So you will use Visual Standard to start creating. It's present in my office laptop. I'll not be able to share the screen, but pretty much this is how it is present. So you will drag and drop. So this is how you will be able to explain the process clearly rather than in steps, because there could be binary decisions. These binary decisions are easy to explain. Okay, it's something like open the application opened, yes, then log in, application not opened, no, then drop an email and then stop. So in this particular scenario, application did not log in, yes, then drop an email, application did not log in, no, then continue, something like this. So this is how you create your process flow. So it will be easy to view as well. So current state process flow and future state process flow. Current state process flow is a logic that human is following. Future state process flow is what the bot is planning to do, supposed to do. The process it follows. Clear?
Jayan, is it a diagrammatical? I mean,
It's a
showing this.
flowchart based.
So we are not coding anything here, right? We are just pointing.
It's a document, that's it. It's a simple document. Use it to express the process clearly.
Okay.
Okay, it's a simple document that is, it's not a code or anything, it's just a representational way of the process. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You're just drawing a flowchart of the process that you understood, manual and solution. So Visual Standard, there are multiple tools out there, but mostly commonly used one is Visio for flowchart. So once the UAT is over, then you move to the production. In the production phase, you be there as a support fix for the warranty period. Once that is done, then comes the go live. That is pretty much all the ones that are present. So coming back to the documents, what else the documents apart from solution design document and the process definition document, what else documents you are involved in or you start creating? So if I list out all the documents that we have discussed so far, we discussed BRD, business requirement document, or SOPs, standard operating, both are pretty much same, standard operating procedure given by the business. And then comes PDD, usually analyst and developer. Similarly, solution design document also analyst and developer. But in this particular scenario, developer will have more weightage. In this process definition document, analyst will have the more weightage. And then technical design document or bot management document. This is also created by the developer, but to hand over to the support team. In this particular technical design document, you will specify what are the input files, what are the templates the code is using, where the code, where the template files are placed, what is the shared drive it is placed in, what are the accesses that are maintained, the password reset cycle, how frequently the password gets reset. So all the things that support team should know to maintain that process. So in future, let us say the authentication failed. Now they should know whom to reach to get the password reset. Who owns that access, who can be able to reset the password. They also should know what is a password reset cycle, whether it is an expiry password, non-expiry password, where the input files are. Well, let us say that bot failed one day saying that the input files are missing. The support team should know where the input files are present in the first place. What are the input files that are supposed to be present for the code to run, what are missing, so they should understand all that. So all that is present in the technical design document. What are the input files, what are the templates the code is based on, where are they placed, who usually places the files there, are they always static or they get replaced by the business frequently, what are the columns in each technical file in those input files that it is dependent on, the sheet names. So all that information is present in the bot management document or the technical design document. What are the variables you are using, where are you declaring those variables, what are the environmental logs you are using, what are the environmental variables that you are using, where is the config file present, all that information will present in your bot management document. This is be created by the developer to hand it over to the support team. So once the warranty period is over, once all the fixes they are done, when the bot becomes stable, then they hand over this document and then they give the responsibilities to the support team for the future management. So the other documents that are involved are the UID tracker as well. There is TCO and ORM checklist, operational risk and management. So this is where you check the risk and management. There will be, so again, most of the companies started using this because RBI is such a delicate topic. So if there is not a proper governance, let us say there is a problem we had recently. We automated a process called as India payroll or no APAC payroll. So APAC payroll is where it reconciles the payroll information into a different SAP system, external SAP system for the storage purposes, right? So let us say you are getting an Excel file which contains everyone's payroll information, which has a sensitive payer data. First thing that needs to be checked. Second thing is, if someone's salary is 5 rupees, then you will start questioning as a human. If someone's salary is 50 lakhs, you'll start questioning as a human that something is wrong in that Excel file, if 1%. So right, that is a cognitive thinking you have. You automated that process, right? Now from an ORM perspective, you should check what could go wrong, what are the risk and management risks identified in that process by automating it. These kind of threshold values or threshold lookups you will not be able to write in the bot logic. So risk and management is a team which looks over the manual process and tries to understand by automating this process, is there any reputational risk or finance risk present. So you need to get the ORM sign off, the SDD sign off before you actually start your development. So ORM document is something that the analyst usually prepares. What are the risks that are identified in the manual process? Are they worthy of automating despite the risks? So operational risk and management. Anyways, this is another document that we use. So Blue Prism, we have ODI and PDI. They are not present part of this particular one. Object and process definition interface documents. But anyways, those are for a different batch. It means these are the documents that are involved. Any questions on this?
Yeah, yes. Input present. So we are deploying our code through the orchestrator, right?
Yes.
So like that, can can't we do the input Excel files? Can we
No,
publish it to
orchestrator is
orchestrator?
only, see, when I say I'm deploying the code to the orchestrator, it's not like you're moving the code physically to orchestrator. Orchestrator is an SQL Server instance where the XML will be stored as a text. So I said, right, the example is nothing but an XML text. So when you are actually pushing there, right, the strings of data is actually stored as a message, the XML information, and that will be pushed. So it is always a text. When you talk about physical files like Excel and all, they are not textual representation. They are not in the format of a text. They're actually physical files that needs a storage capacity. They cannot be stored in a database as a XML as a text. You understood, right? You cannot push the physical files into orchestrator. When you are saying that you are publishing the code indirectly, you are sending the XML as a text. It's not like the code is going physically into the orchestrator. So each code has been in the backend, it's written in XML. Right? So the XML part will be gone into the database where it is stored, and then that gets pushed into production or testing as a part of strings. As part of the text, it will be sent as a message, as a body content. Clear?
Okay.
You cannot store the file in a database. You can only store the text in a database. So this code kind of stores as a encrypted text in the orchestrated database.
So if
Clear?
required, we should have to use the common drive, right?
Yes. If you want to you start using some templates or input files, you need to start using shared drives or SharePoint, a common place, or ensure that you place those files in the production server as well, wherever you're planning to run in the same path, probably in D drive or E drive. So in this particular server D drive you place, ensure that same files in same place are placed in that particular server D drive as well. So it will pick it up from there, either of the application, either of the path. Either you place in the
Okay.
shared drive, yeah.
Then how bot will come to know the shared drive path actually and file
We'll
name
feed that into the
convention
code.
file?
We'll feed that into the config file, the shared drive path. Like how I fed the data in the config file. If you open here in the code, what is the report path I have given? This is on. Instead of giving the local path, I'll give the shared drive path here.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay. Alright guys, tomorrow we'll start something called as a queue management or a multi-bot structure. So how we can process huge volume of data running parallelly. So queue management is something is really important, and it's one of the hardcore topics we'll be checking tomorrow against web-based application. You know that we have seen the Windows-based application. We'll try touching the web-based application starting tomorrow, a different project. Clear? Alright guys, and let's catch up in tomorrow's class.
Okay.
Yeah, so I hope your email IDs are already with the Visualpath, because I'll be sharing them the documents today, the UIT document that I showed you, and the solution and technical design document samples I'll be sending them. Probably they'll be sharing today or tomorrow to you guys. Fine. All right, guys, then. See you.